Make any notes or? Yeah. Because it wasn't like that before, was it? Still waiting.
Okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah,
Oh, no, it says it's live. I'm not seeing it come up.
it
It's
is.
fine. Just leave it. Is it live on Betchy?
No, it's on Facebook.
So do I need
Is
to
it showing?
press? No. Yeah.
Check it.
Yeah, it is. Do I need to press live, go live on Twitch?
No, it's alright.
Are we allowing it?
It's recording.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Check, check. Shanice?
Yes,
Are you with us?
midday.
Right. So, welcome to the Afro Perspective podcast. Sorry, we're 28 minutes late, but we wouldn't be pro black if we were on time.
Okay, so
So,
let's just get some levels. How's the level sounding?
check,
Just trying
check.
to keep them how the levels are sounding.
Can you hear? Can you hear me? There's a mic there. Can you? Hello? Check, check. Can you hear me?
Check. Can you hear me good?
Shanice, can you hear us?
Yeah, 100%. Very well.
Anyway,
Yeah, get the some of that's like
can't you? Are you on it?
Yeah, no, but I can only see it, but I can't hear what's going on. I need my headphones.
Do you want me to get it?
Yeah,
Was that a check? Like, is that a mic check?
okay, yeah.
I'm disconnecting this.
What? Yeah. Just the earphones. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
we've got 20 people online.
They're anxiously
Or on
waiting
Twitch.
for us to give our views. Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Good, we
good to
good,
go.
we
Yeah.
good. Right then. Welcome to our podcast. This is what, episode 1?
Episode
And the title is What Does It Mean to Be Pro-Black? But we're going to do a bit of introduction, so I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Charlene / Zoya. You can use whatever name you want. And I am a dental nurse living in Sheffield, but originally from Guyana. Been in England for 20 years now. So most of my life. This is Tanashi / Busy. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Tanashi, popularly known as Busy or Busy Movements. I'm originally from Zimbabwe. I've been in the UK since 2002. I'm currently a second year student at Huddersfield University studying mechanical engineering. Anything else?
That's
Think
enough.
about it, so,
That's
yeah,
enough
should be
about
enough.
you.
Yeah. And introducing another one of our panel.
Hi, I'm Asha Yip. I'm originally from Manchester, lived in Sheffield for about 15 years, and possibly more. I would say I self-identify as black, but on paper I'm mixed race. But yeah.
Shanice, over to you. Hope people can hear you.
Hey, so I'm Shanice. I'm from London, England, but I tell people I was born in St. Lucia because that's my home. And I'm a carer, domiciliary carer. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Right. So we're gonna delve right into this. I want you to tell us your opinion on what it means to be pro-black first. What do you think? It's a feedback.
So I was monitoring.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So, what does it mean to be pro-black people? It's been live and direct in the internet. Everyone's talking about it. So we're gonna give our perspective on that. She was busy.
I'll go first.
Yeah, that's better.
I think to be pro-black is to uplift black lives and communities within a Eurocentric system. But I do think that being pro-black is a broad spectrum, and I was talking to Narsha about this earlier, where I think to be pro-black and it to be rooted in Pan-Africanism is one way to look at it, via education to undo the Eurocentric structures, I guess. And then there is the political black, which is essentially everyone who is not white. And there'll be people that come under political blackness that don't necessarily believe in Pan-Africanism, but still believe that they're pro-black.
Okay, so my thoughts on pro-black. If we dissect the word pro meaning for something, for the advancement of something, for the survival of something. So to be pro-black, in my opinion, is to have to put black people first, to put the advancement of black people first, to put the survival of black people first in a multicultural or a multiracial society. And with that, to be pro-black is to commit yourself to the advancement, or to commit yourself to these things through political and economic decisions. So to be pro-black, we can look at it from a political perspective, from a cultural perspective, as well as from an economical perspective. Pro-black from an economical perspective being spending within your community. From a cultural perspective, it's to be for the preservation of your culture, to be for the growth of your culture, and from a political perspective, to commit yourself to the advancement of black people on the political spectrum.
I think we're all going to roundabout saying the same thing. Shanice, what's your take on it? There's nothing
Yeah,
to add to that.
I literally was about. I was. I was literally just thinking, like, they basically said how I feel and what I believe it is, but to also say, and I heard this from another live from a woman that I follow who is pro-black, and she said that being pro-black also means that you shouldn't feel you cannot tell a fellow black person if they are wrong. You don't just say you're right because you're black. You're supposed to guide and teach each other as well. So if I feel that you're wrong and I'm pro-black, I'm not just going to be like, oh, because you're black, it's okay. I'm going to tell you where I feel that you went wrong. So I feel like that's something we should add to being pro-black. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I feel the same way. Pro-black is for betterment of our people. I think personally, I personally think there's a cap to being pro-black, because let's say, because we'd spend money, we'd all want to spend money in black businesses, put our money into that. So how many black businesses out there? Let's say, when I say there's a cap, for example, would I not travel somewhere because the pilot on an airplane isn't black or it's not a black airline? There's a cap to it, but
I
like
think
everyone said,
I get that.
You get
There
what
is a
I'm
cap
trying to
to it,
say.
yeah, and I get that cap because it's not. We can only do that within reason. And that's because we don't necessarily have our own institutions. We don't necessarily
go.
have our own economy that allows us to be excluded. I mean, to be pro-black, I don't think it's to be totally excluded or to literally stick to black. I think to be pro-black is to be aware of the need to advance black people individually, while we at the same time communicate with other races. So you can't. It's kind of like, well, I don't really want to touch on the race.
Enough said. Yeah, I get what you're saying. That actually it leads into why is it important to be pro-black? Because we've got an agenda and we've got a list that we're going through. So why do you think it's important to be pro-black?
Are we gonna let Shanice?
Yeah. She's oh yeah.
Okay. I was ready. Okay. So for me personally, why it's important to be pro-black is because, we are the race that are looked down upon and frowned upon. And, our identities have been stolen from us. Like, literally everything's been stolen from us. And I feel that being pro-black it's an education within itself. It's a way to educate yourself, love yourself, and really connect with every aspect of being black. And oh, and the brain goes blank for a second. That's what I have for now. I think like I'm letting kind of like the on the spotness take over my brain. So I might jump back in when from someone. So I hand it over to someone else. I think what I said was kind of clear.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
I agree with Shanice in a sense that I think we have to be we wouldn't have to be pro-black if there wasn't anti-black in the first place. I think we have to be pro-black in order to challenge the Eurocentric education system. I think we have to be pro-black in order to raise the next generations to be able to take on the world that we haven't been able to take it on. And yeah, it's important for the betterment of black people in general.
I think it's important to be pro-black because if you look through history over the years, through slavery, wars, disease, etc., like millions and millions of black people have literally been exterminated all across the world. I don't think there's a race of people that has suffered at the hands of other races and lost so much people. So at this stage, it's essential to be pro-black. And when I say it's essential to be pro-black, it's essential to be pro-black for the in order to maintain our existence as black people on this earth, because we're already lagging behind. We've had millions and millions. I mean, just imagine the black people that were exterminated through slavery and then killed by police, etc. If we don't have a collective of black people that maintain that pro-black stance, I don't think our race stands.
It'll be stagnant.
We'll be stagnant, yeah. And at the same time, we have collectively been given hoops, and we've collectively been economically disadvantaged. I think in order to find economic freedom, it's important for us to be pro-black, and pro-black in the sense of working towards building something like a what's that, Black Wall Street. I think that to me, pro-black, it's centered on black unity. You can't be pro-black and you look at another brother differently. I mean,
in a negative way.
Yeah, unity is literally the very fabric of being pro-black. And I think without that kind of unity, we don't have a means of finding economic freedom. We don't have no means of finding political power and freedom. Actually, do you want to add on to that, Charlie?
Yeah, covered it all basically. Yeah, because like I said earlier, we'd be stagnant if we weren't pro our own at the moment. Because that actually leads into the next question of, oh my, sorry, this mic I keep, sorry people. So the next question was, is pro-black the equivalent as pro-white? This vexed me, right? Because when I was doing this agenda, I specifically removed this question. Right? Because I was triggered.
Why?
And when I saw this pop up again, I was like, man, trying to get me in trouble today. Because I thought, what? It actually made me laugh because I'm like, how do I approach it? Because what, there isn't, when have you ever heard a bunch of white people sitting down saying, are we pro-white? It's not, it's a conversation, sorry, it's a conversation we have constantly, and it's something that we have to be taught, because we have to teach ourselves self-love, whereas white people, they're born with that. That's where they're trying to teach this and get it into our system, whereas white people, it's just, what is pro-white? Pro-white is KKK as far as
Yeah,
I'm.
pro-white.
That's extra.
Yeah,
That's
it's
on
racist.
top.
I don't.
See, you put it in, and we need to
Okay.
address the person that
Okay.
put this back into the conversation. So
Is
I don't-
pro-black the same as pro-white? Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I disagree.
controversial?
Okay,
Shanice,
let me give my
you
reason.
You give your reason because you put it in.
Why do I
I
think that
disagree.
pro-black is the same as pro-white? I think when we think about pro-white, we think of pro-white with the connotations of hate and racism. When I think about pro-white, I think about, for example, does a white man have the right to want to preserve his whiteness through, for example, if a white man said he didn't want his daughter to marry a black man, would I have a problem with it? Absolutely no, because he'd rather have white grandchildren. That is a pro-white decision, right? I believe every race is pro. It's a natural.
That's it.
It's a natural disposition. Or I can't find the right word. And I think everybody has got the right to be pro anything, without, as long as you're not anti. So you can be pro-white and not anti-black. Is that problematic?
It sounds
If
actually
no,
to
I'm
say.
saying if all right, everybody has their cultural commitments. If you as a white man decide that you want to keep your family structure, or you want your grandkids to be British and you want to preserve that Britishness, I'll even extend it and go as far as saying, for example, I don't have I don't I don't have a problem if, for example, the Queen of England had a problem with her a grandson marrying a black or mixed race girl. And when I say that, it's because I'm trying to empathize with them from their
Their
perspective.
preservation, right?
Yeah, they're looking at it as the royal family is built on whiteness.
Yeah.
So to break that, do they not have the right to challenge that and say, why would you?
Nah, it's not
Bring
case
that-
of. It's not.
Can I interject?
She's what?
Can I
Sorry.
interject? No, I wanted to
Yeah.
interject quickly. Um, I agree about being pro for whatever you believe. Like whatever makes sense to you, you be pro that. So I understand that if a white person, a Chinese person, Filipino person, whatever, they want to stay pro their race. Like I understand that, but I feel like if we wasn't oppressed, there wouldn't be a reason to
Pro,
be
yeah,
pro-black
that's-
in the
that's-
first
Exactly.
place.
feel like we're
This,
attacking
this
now.
is the point, and they feel that they think that us being pro-black is is to like weaponize them. It's not. It's the fact that we have to have this for ourselves because of what they have done to us.
Agreed.
That's what it is. It's not because it we wouldn't be pro-black and like like this if we didn't feel that we weren't important anyway. And it's a thing where we are at the bottom of the food chain,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and you know they are.
The only
I'm going to say white people are above us, and I don't see nothing wrong in a white person saying that they would prefer to keep, their grandchildren and so on white.
yeah, I
But
don't find that a
if there was
racist
Thing,
thing.
this is
equality,
the
no
thing.
one, no one would, no one would be pro-black.
No, but check this out, Shanice. I think we center pro-black on. We forget that even if there wasn't anti-black, we'd still need to be pro-black. We think of pro-black as a knee-jerk reaction to racism. But even if we hadn't gone through slavery, there would still be the need for us to be pro-black.
Not necessarily with our nations. We don't rival.
I get that, but I don't
They
think
weren't
people
even
would have that
thinking about
mindset.
color because everyone else around us is.
No, but we'd still be living in a multicultural sort of world, right? The spectrum doesn't change. The
Yeah.
point is, yeah, fair enough. We have to be pro-black to build and to dismantle and to elevate ourselves from the position that we were put through slavery, etc. But at the same time, pro-black is a way of life. It's a cultural commitment that everybody, if you're Chinese people are pro-Chinese. Let's not get that twisted. Asians in general are pro-Asian. Hence why you cannot, as a black man, marry to certain Asian families or into most Asian families because they
You can
are,
do it, but you just won't be accepted.
you
can
just
do what
won't
you
be
want.
accepted. Now, do I wrong them for that? Is that it is morally in this society wrong, but there is reason to why Asians wouldn't want a black man to marry into their family. Does it make it right? Not necessarily, but it is very much rooted to cultural preservation. What's wrong if they don't want half black
tainting
children?
them.
Yeah,
But
do you know what
that's
I
the
mean?
thing.
So, but then it's every race is afforded the right to maintain a position where Asians can keep black people out of their families. It's okay, right? White people they've rejected us for years, which has created this complex that makes us constantly seek acceptance from them. But historically, even though we might have white and black relations today, we might have white and black couples, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody that the families are married, which we'll discuss that later. So does it
Asha,
make it wrong?
she had some strong things to say earlier. I feel like you might have thrown.
I completely disagree. I think, like Shani said, I think to be pro-black is definitely not the same as being pro-white. If you live in a society that is institutionally racist,
Yep.
that is Eurocentric within its education, that is indoctrinated with whiteness, we are only counteracting, but like balancing out the playing field. So to be pro-white would be to just be outrageously racist to me. You're
you
literally
go.
a KKK member.
That's what I was saying.
You're in a white society. You can't.
Okay. So if a white man says he doesn't want his daughter to marry a black man, does that make him racist?
It depends
Depends
on
on
his
what, sorry?
reason.
If he simply doesn't want no
I
black
would-
or mixed race
I
grandchildren,
would like
does that make him
reason.
racist?
Doesn't make him racist. Not up to him at the end of the day, but it's just like
So he is pro-white because he wants to preserve the whiteness in his family. But does it make him racist?
I think it makes him racist because if you live in a white society, you trying so hard to preserve the whiteness in a white society sounds racist to me. If black people do you know, like, if black people are struggling to be treated as equals and we're not even educated the same school, do you know, to be pro-black is more than just, and I can't empathise with white people saying, oh, I don't want so-and-so to marry black into my family. We can't empathise.
Yeah, but they have. I feel like I don't see why we should impose that onto people, like to accept. Because this is the thing. It's not just a people say, "Oh yeah, you just fall in love or whatever." It's not. It's deeper than that. It goes deeper than that.
But it's not the world we live in. I think this is the point. Like, I feel like if someone randomly said, you know what, I feel this way, so that's why I want my child to be with the same race. But it's not that. People have been taught to think the opposite. They've been taught to hate us. It's not like some person just thought off the top of their mind, oh, I prefer to preserve the whiteness. It's everyone's, not everyone, but it's a majority saying that because it's been taught. If this was a world where there was no racism, then okay, maybe, but that's not the world we live in. And that's why that point doesn't make sense to me personally, because I understand that if you're pro, sorry,
No,
like,
I
like,
understand where you're
I
coming
feel I
from.
am like, I like I can empathize with a lot, and I understand what he means by saying that
Preserving, yeah.
you want to be pro what you are, but then that's not the world we live in. If it wasn't the world we lived in, then yeah, it would be more
There is no
understandable,
Okay,
but
balance.
it's
so
not.
Shanice, tell me something.
Then,
Is it
yeah,
racist for a black man to say that he doesn't want his children to marry outside of their race? How can we have
now
it one
I'm
way?
gonna address that in the time.
Because racism to do.
Wait, no. I'm addressing it to the time that we're living in. Now, because of the abuse, I understand that. But if that wasn't around, then I would be like, whoa, like, is it not love? But that's not the world we live in right now.
Black
Black
is
is
a
a
negative
problem.
connotation. It's like saying, so
Exactly.
what is pro-white? Every baby is born with that embedded into them. They don't have to think about whether or not if they go out, they have to protect themselves or present themselves a certain way. They just get up, walk out the door, go to school,
Yeah.
come back home. Enough said, that's it. If a black kid goes out there, there's all sorts coming their way that's just negative. It's not a case
Yeah.
of, it's,
100%.
Lord,
I think
this is just
if a black person, you say a black dad doesn't want his daughter to marry white,
Yeah.
is it racist? I don't think black people can be racist
Any other
because
race.
racism is a social construct to do with power. We can't be racist. We
Okay.
can be
Is it
discriminatory.
all right? Is it discriminatory or what's the other word?
No,
Prejudice.
it's
It's
prejudice, but
prejudice. It's
it's
prejudice.
also preserving.
So just
Definitely.
because we don't have power, does that make prejudice okay?
No, it doesn't make it okay.
So it is all right then.
No, it doesn't. But we wouldn't have had, I don't feel we would have that prejudice if we
So tell
weren't
me something,
treated that
right?
way.
And I totally understand it, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. Right?
No, you are.
Actually, Joshua,
You are.
he made a statement, and the very fabric of the statement was basically suggesting that
he was racist because of what
black
he did.
people spend with,
They should spend their like.
you know, with everybody know you've seen the headline. I understand exactly because I utter those sentiments every other day.
Yeah.
But again, there's a part of me that tries to empathize with other people and see how they think or how they perceive these words. So, what is it about pro-blackness that makes non-blacks feel so uncomfortable to the point where they're willing to cancel somebody that they love so much, like Anthony Joshua? What is it about that form of prejudice? Is it? I get that we have to be that way, but how is it perceived from the other end?
I can't speak on behalf of the other end. I can't see. To me, why are they so upset? Why does
Talking to
why does it scare people that we're trying to come up? What is it that
I think personally it's because they're used to the status quo. They're used to our position.
they used to
We
seeing
should
at
keep
bottom?
our position, and us trying to change our position makes them uncomfortable. And because they've never had to deal with us being in
And-
any other position, this is the constant challenge that we face.
Is that based on
And
is that based on racism or is that based on human traits? Because everybody likes to maintain the status quo, whether it's on the social ladder, on the economic ladder, hence why we have xenophobia.
I get you. I get you pointing. I didn't think of that till just now.
Yeah, so
But
if you was in a position of privilege and that position of privilege,
you don't want that to be taken away
you
from
don't
you.
want
But
that
listen,
to be taken away.
it was
Yeah,
built
but it
on
wasn't
us.
yours.
It wasn't
Sorry.
built. They didn't build this privilege.
Sorry.
We came into this. We didn't come into this. We were brought into this.
That is your understanding of
You
things.
say that. Yeah. So I'm thinking.
Like for me, it's like you're wrong.
Pardon?
Wrong. It's like you're trying to be wrong and strong. Like you don't want to accept the truth, the real history, and you're happy with where you are, but you want to be wrong and
Yeah.
strong and stay where you are. Like that don't make
Ignorance
sense
to
to
bliss,
me.
because it's lack of education. All the
Exactly. Like I get the personality stuff. I get that. Like
The
you know, I
human
get the
behavior
personality stuff,
aspect
but
of it.
Yeah,
how
it's
can
it's
you
it's,
expect
it's a
if
human
it's not
trait to
yours?
preserve that, and I think in order to understand, I mean, personally, I don't condone racism. I don't excuse it, but I understand it. I'm now in a position where, and when I say racism, I'm talking about economic racism. I'm talking about political racism, right? If you live your life as a black person trying to understand racism as a victim, you're never gonna quite get to the bottom of it.
So you saying that most black people are in the victim mentality?
No, I mean they understand racism as victims.
Oh,
Would you not think that's the national curriculum? Do you think it's
That is not the national curriculum because when you check it, black people are the only people that are not collectively racist. Black people are the only people that have never they've never colonized any other race. They've never systematically killed any other race. That is, and black people are the only race that you can't point at and say that they are not racist. Arabs were the first ones.
We're the
They're
most welcoming. I'm
Now,
sorry.
is that a good thing?
that's what I'm saying. That's what's kept
it-
us.
Every
Down
other
not,
race
I reckon.
is capable. The Chinese are the racist
not.
towards black people. Facts. The Asians, like, not all of them, obviously, when I say this, I don't want nobody to misconstrue my words or anything. But the point is, every other race does not see a problem with excluding black people and with being racist towards black people because they understand that race is not just about calling you a nigger. Race is a tool that is used to maintain economic power and political power. Racism, that now, does it have to have hate attached to it? No. Because the hate that came with racism, as we understand it, was attached to white supremacy, which was a means of explaining how they treated us.
I disagree with the victim mentality mindset, and I'll stand by my point of the national curriculum. If we go to school, we can't have the assumption that everyone learns about blackness at home, because they don't.
Yeah. Facts.
And we go to school,
Yeah.
and in school we have Black History Month, and I remember watching Amistad and learning about slavery. So you're teaching our children to have a victim mentality because they're associating themselves coming from slavery. So I think it's unfair to put that on black people, like they have a victim mentality. This is something that's like indoctrinated
Been
into
taught.
us. Yeah, we've been taught this. We've been taught to.
Keep ourselves down.
Okay, let me just correct you.
Because you're not taught what happened
So
before
check
slavery.
this. When I say I didn't mean. I probably used the wrong words. I probably didn't articulate myself in the best way. I don't mean that black people have a victim mentality, but black people understand racism from a victim's
Yeah.
perspective.
I get.
Agreed, yeah.
We've never tried to understand it from any other perspective apart from as victims. So when you ask a black person, what do you think about racism? They're going to tell you racism is a bad thing because we've only ever been victims. If you talk to the Chinese and ask them what they think about racism and have a very honest conversation, they will let you know that it's important for us to keep certain things to ourselves. It's important for us to, the hate. I mean, that's a projection of other insecurities, which it goes deeper than that. But generally, that racism, that form of racism, that means that you're never going to go to a Chinese shop and see a black chef.
Facts.
You know,
Or in you might see it in an Indian job.
and this is just, I mean, pointing these things out, you know, it might make some people feel uncomfortable, but these are facts. We are the only people that have this yearning for inclusion,
Acceptance and inclusion.
acceptance.
Yeah, yeah. I believe
Yeah,
that's I fully agree with that.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, can we done that please? Keep going, keep going. So let's got a drink. So yeah. So I've already covered that. Does pro-black mean that you're racist? It's because you've
Yeah,
already
we kind of
spoken,
covered
touched
that,
on
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I,
Racist is a
did
strong
we actually
word
decide?
now, you know.
No.
Racist is such a
Yeah,
strong
I
word.
thought.
Strong
No.
word.
There is no middle
Okay,
ground.
okay. Let's go back to the word racism.
It's pro-black,
Say that again.
white. Say it like that. It's pro-black,
Uh-oh.
anti-white. Is pro-black,
Yeah,
anti-white?
yeah, we're
Because
just
I've
having
heard some
technical
people say that.
difficulties. One sec. Nah, I don't think pro-black is
I agree.
anti-white. I think because we're so, like he said, we're so accepting. No matter what if we love our people, yes, and we want to better our people or ourselves, but we don't go around hating on people. We don't go around saying, you know what,
No.
don't go over there, you know, because all the Asian boys are over there. Or
Yeah.
don't go over there.
We're just trying to make an equal.
We're not anti anything. If I'm honest, not just white.
Yeah.
We're not anti anything. We're very accepting and seem to love everybody for some reason.
Yeah, so we can't. I don't
Yeah.
think it's racist to be pro-black.
Nah, it's not. What's happening? Yeah. Yeah. So, well, let's see. What was our next question on the agenda? It's the interesting. Pro-black and dating.
Ooh.
Can you be pro-black and date outside of your race? Somebody put that in. This one's a tricky one for me.
I think you can be.
I think we should mention what people have said.
Go. Sorry.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Shall I read?
Yeah, start with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So Excusez-moi. I'm gonna read out. Someone sent in. Where is it? One moment. Oh, that's what I got. Okay, so someone wrote in, can you be pro-black whilst dating on a non-black person? So this person's answer to this was yes. But firstly, I would like to acknowledge the fact that pro-black has many different meanings for people. Who defines this? What does it entail? Right? Are we? Shall I read it?
Is pro-black subjective? Let's just pause that right there. Is it really subjective?
What are your thoughts?
I just disagree with the notion of being pro-black and having an interracial relationship.
Let's carry reading this. Okay.
No, before now.
You guys.
Okay,
You're the
okay,
only
yeah,
person that hasn't. So shall I carry on reading?
yeah. Because I've not
So
read it.
this is Tanashi's surprise. Okay. So who defines this? What does it entail? Are there different levels of being pro-black? I am a black female, and I personally believe that to not identify myself as pro-black is the same as to not being in support of feminism. I'm aware of the notion held by some that my integrity is essentially lost because I'm dating a white man.
Hold on.
And-
Sorry, you're reading this a bit too fast. Okay, can you stick up in right there? Can you just go back? Can you just go back?
Right, let me just go back to stanza 1. Okay. I'm a black female, and I personally believe that to not identify myself as pro-black is the same as being in support of feminism. Full stop.
to not identify yourself as pro-black is the same as not being in support of
As
feminism.
a woman, yeah. So because she's black, she's
Yeah.
essentially naturally pro-black.
Basically.
I don't think that every woman
No, no, okay.
subscribes or supports feminism,
There you go.
and
That's true.
so I think that's a false equivalence, in my opinion. But carry on.
Okay, so she went on to say, I am aware of the notion held by some that my integrity is essentially lost because I'm dating a white man, and that some also believe being pro-black requires me to love and procreate with a black man, full stop. Well, go on.
I agree.
I agree. Some points I find quite contradictory, but carry on.
Okay, so the notion that it is, you are essentially conflicted.
Yes.
Because if you are pro something, right, it's like saying,
Going against the grain.
it's like saying I'm pro life, but you hang out with murderers. It's a contradiction. It's a contradiction, right? And this is the thing. It's okay to be black and date outside your race.
Because, as she said, I say love is love. So are you? That's pro
I don't,
love.
love is not love. Love is not just love, and we'll talk about that, right? I don't have a problem with interracial dating. If a black man decides he wants to date a white woman, I ain't got a problem with it.
Right.
Likewise, if a black woman decides she wants to date a white man, I don't have a problem with it. What I have a problem with is if you decide that you're gonna do that, don't be on the gram posting pro-black stuff.
Don't get the
You look like an idiot.
And you can't have your cake and eat.
It doesn't work that way. You can't say you are pro something and then
Do the opposite.
like the biggest all right, here's the thing. The biggest decision that you can make where
Being pro-black is concerned. Is
where
procreating with
we're
bringing up a child. That's black.
it's one of the most important decisions. It's not like it's not like okay. It's not like saying can you be pro-black and listen to
Country.
country music, or can you be pro-black and listen to Bhangra music? I ain't got a problem. Those are decisions that they're not necessarily detrimental to the advancement of your people collectively, right? So if you have black at the center of your heart, anyway, carry on.
You can be eclectic, like different races. Okay, so I say love is love. It does not mean that my quote-unquote blackness and all that encompasses has been somewhat diluted. Therefore,
Can you go back again,
go
please?
back. All right, okay. So it does not mean that my blackness and all that encompasses has been somewhat diluted, therefore rendering me able to care for, acknowledge, or want to celebrate black excellence.
Okay, carry on.
Okay. Fight with and for black people against injustice and oppression, or embrace my culture and just generally root for and uplift the black community. So she's saying basically she can be pro-black and still be in a mixed race relationship. It doesn't mean she's against it. Your thoughts?
I think. Oh gosh.
What are your thoughts?
I think if you take social stratification into account and you look at a white man being at the very top of society and a black woman being at the very bottom of society, I don't understand how you could. I get how they can empathise with you and empathise with your struggles in life, but they're never facing.
They'll never feel it.
No, they'll never
Empathy
feel
and
it.
Feeling is two different.
Exactly. And I think being black wouldn't be at the heart of your household
No,
because essentially you
broken it.
Yeah.
Society, the chain.
yeah. So yeah, I just think it's.
There you go. Yeah, Shanice, what do you think? Do you think you can be pro-black and date outside race, even though it's not finished?
No, for me personally, I can only speak for myself. Like I can understand what she's saying. Like she feels that she can, you know, still uplift her blackness and maybe possibly teach her white partner, you know. But for me personally, like I find all races attractive, but I cannot I cannot be with anything but a black man. Not only because I just feel like black men are just the most greatest men to look at and to reason with. It's because as I said, you we feel the same things. Like the
Sorry to cut you. Can you just
the
let the viewers know that
yeah.
our screen's going to be live shortly? It's just the camera battery died. That's all.
Let me.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So only
this
you're
this
visible
this
on the live feed, but they can still hear us, and the live's still going on. But we are going to be back on live shortly.
okay. So would you like me? Where would
I've,
you like me to
oh,
state
I've
this?
put it on Anto's.
No, no, no. It's cool. Carry on.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, like you see with the video, that the disturbing video of George Floyd. As much as people see it and they feel hurt by it, they will never feel what it's like to be a black woman and see that happen to your own. And I feel like they want to eradicate us so much as well. And I feel like mixing my DNA is not it's not the strongest version of our people, no matter how dominant our genes are. Um, I just love the idea of having a fully black foot child, and if the child's mixed with whatever, when I say whatever version, I mean whatever version of black, whether that's the Caribbean or Africa, but obviously we are all African. But personally, as a pro-black woman, as much as I find other um, races attractive, I won't get the upliftment that I need to feel as a black woman from any other race other than a black man. That's how I feel. If that made any sense.
I'll carry on with the. I keep saying letter. It's not, I keep saying letter, and it's not a letter. Let me carry on reading what she said. Okay, so
Oh, there's
there's
more.
oh wait, but there's more. Just wait. Um. Okay, so right. So where did I get up to? So this thing's long, man.
It's the last one that I like.
You can.
most.
Okay, so she said so. Or embrace my culture and just generally root and uplift the black community. So you can still do all of the above in an interracial relationship. It is not mutually exclusive. To believe it's not possible centralizes the white person and assumes that we need to consciously or subconsciously tone down our blackness. So I'm just thinking, if you've got to tone down your blackness and you're in an interracial, don't you have to tone down your blackness when you're in an interracial relationship? So how can you be
Exactly.
pro? I'm just confused as to what's going on here. There's a lot going on.
I don't think
You,
yeah. I'm lost for words.
trying to say. So yes. So okay. So to believe it's not possible. So to believe it's not possible centralizes the white person and assumes that we need to consciously or subconsciously tone down our blackness, our solidarity with the black community to be in a relationship with them. It's,
But most people do
Because
tone it
how
down.
can I pick up your
I'm
your
not gonna
fight or your plight? They've had their whole life as if it's a white man, for example.
yeah.
They've had their whole life living white privilege, experiencing white privilege, white male privilege,
Comfortable.
comfortable, and then you get with a black woman and you're all of a sudden, even if you are educated, you're not
Yeah.
necessarily going to be on the forefront of being pro-black because you're with a black woman. It's an interracial household. you
There's all
probably
sorts
take,
going on.
yeah, you're taking two different cultures and making a new thing.
Okay.
I think to pe- people people need to realize that everybody has a an innate cultural commitment, and you can't. I feel like a white man can understand, but they can't necessarily empathize sometimes. And on top of that, they don't have that obligation to your culture to fight for your culture.
Yeah.
They don't. I honestly don't think. I mean, I've seen people calling out their white friends and everything, and I think to myself, it's like we see other people in other races out there go through what they go through, right? We might talk about it, but it's to a certain extent a world problem. But deep down inside, a lot of us are just like, that ain't our problem. So, in that sense, where you don't have that cultural commitment, you're gonna be conflicted when your culture comes up. But then a lot of couples tend to ignore that until it rears its head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. So that's another thing. How can you be pro-black when a lot of the issues that are happening, you're quiet on? Because their fight isn't going to be as loud as your fight. So therefore, you're going to be like, you know what, I ain't going to say nothing. So something happens to George Floyd, they'll say, that's bad what happened. No, that shouldn't be happening in today's day and age. If you were with a black person, you'd be enraged together.
Yeah.
You'd be both of you vexed watching the TV thing. What the
Yeah.
what's going on here, right? You're there with the interracial. You can't express your anger as well as you would if you have someone else that was in support with you on that.
I agree.
But wait, there's more. Okay, so I need to go back a bit to come back. Okay, so our solidarity with the black community to be in a relationship with them. That would be very problematic for me and should be a huge red flag for anyone. This is a multifaceted discussion in part because of the term pro-black does not have one universal definition, and interracial relationships more often than not present their own unique challenges. Why is my girl laughing? Lastly,
I'm just going to Google.
lastly, for the sake of transparency, I willingly admit I willingly admit that I'm guilty of viewing black men who date white women with brother, you didn't listen, you didn't read it, did you?
Okay, come back.
Wait, brother, listen. Okay, I'll go back. Okay, I willingly admit that I'm guilty of viewing black men who date white women with suspicion. I question their motives and sometimes automatically assume that they are whitewashed for various reasons.
So why can't the same logic be applied to black women that are with white?
No,
I don't know what
can we just recommend her commend honesty though?
I love the honesty.
The honesty.
I absolutely love the
I'm on
honesty.
board with all that.
But at the same time, I think there are a few contradictions in
Yeah,
there.
we know. Yes. There's a lot.
And I think the fact that you have it in you that you are guilty of questioning
Yeah, she knows.
men.
She knows. She
Yeah,
says it sounds
but the
bad.
fact that she knows means that deep down inside,
rooted.
there is something rooted in you that knows that something's
ain't right.
fundamentally wrong. Right? It's literally
Basically,
it's
you,
a projection.
You know the problem yourself.
Yeah, it's a projection.
Basically, she answered her question.
Yeah.
And
You
I
can't,
think she's answered it.
basically.
I think it's a very
She said, yes, you can, but at the end, no, we can't, basically. when we summarize it.
So
Yeah.
she said love is love. Did that say love is love? Is it her that
This is
said
all
love is
one
love?
reading, my friend.
Yeah. So I'm just trying
Yeah.
to think whether we said
We
love
can read
is
the
love
comments
is
on
love or something
Facebook as well,
else.
by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. On the whole Love is Love thing, I'm going to refer to a program that's on Netflix that I watched, and it was basically, you might have watched it, I don't know, but basically, loads of contestants came onto the show. They were put in a room, and there was a wall in between them. They don't know anything about the person. All they could
I've
hear
seen
was the voice.
this. Yeah.
Now,
Not me
a
though.
couple, there was a man and a woman, and they got on very well. They got engaged, and they're
Yes.
happily married. Now, this black woman, in my eyes, she came across pro-black, and she would have preferred her husband to be black, but what he made her feel without seeing him is why she was able to marry him. So this is where I won't tell
To
someone
not, yeah,
you shouldn't
who you
love
want.
who makes you feel, makes you feel great, because every woman wants that. But
Okay, let me just finish her
then
message.
I don't say
So
pro black.
the end part of it was, so to conclude, this makes me reluctant to admit when questioned that I'm dating a white guy, especially when I'm asked by a black person. I don't want judgment.
Again, she knows it's wrong.
We've
Deep
already,
down, she knows.
we've answered.
Yeah,
So
she answered
I
her
don't
question.
know. Can you be pro-black and date your race?
Okay, so are we actually? Are we gonna consider the second?
No, okay. Shall I read the next? Yeah, let me just read the next one.
Yeah, let's read the next one.
Okay. Spare me 2 minutes. Okay. So, to to be pro-black is to promote the agenda of development and betterment of black people, not to discredit others, but to put us first. It's important to establish our heritage and honor. You wouldn't marvel at someone else's clean and tidy house whilst yours is a mess. I think everyone is pro-black. Sorry, I think everyone is pro their race to an extent. If you look at communities,
It's a natural, yeah.
and areas, they all have their stereotypes, including Asians, Caucasians. Why not black? Being pro-black doesn't mean you're racist. It's simply setting priorities. Back to the AJ thing. I don't think you can identify as pro-black in an interracial relationship. You can still recognize black as beautiful, etc., but you essentially dilute your stance as you take another multicultural stance.
I totally agree with that.
I agree with this one. This one
It,
makes
it,
sense.
it's hard for me to pick that apart because it's pretty concise
Yeah.
and it touches on. Okay, so are you going to start and give us your opinion, Asha? Can you be pro-black and date outside of your race?
No, I think you can be educated in pro-blackness and date outside of your race, but you're not actively pro-black if you are dating outside of your race. In a nutshell.
I have to agree. You can be black and date outside of your race,
Yeah.
and there's no problem with that, right? Let me make that very clear. I am not against interracial relationships per se.
Do what you want, love
Like
who you
everybody has got the right to do what they want. However, I just seen Simba, big up yourself from London. He put a comment and says, "Love is nonsense. You choose who you love, and that's facts."
Yeah, I agree.
Love, I think people oversimplify relationships, and that's probably why we've got such a high divorce rate in this generation that we live. To me, the person that you marry or the person that you procreate with, that decision it's a political decision. It's not just a case of, oh yeah, I think she's cute and I want cute babies with that person. There has to be consideration to other things apart from that. And when I say it's a political decision, you have to take into consideration if I decide that I'm going to marry, especially in my culture, all of your, all of my family become your family.
Yeah.
So and this is the very fabric of marriage. So let's say you've got this white girl that's open to dating black guys. She gets with a black guy. She likes black guys. But what about a family? how much of her family
It's hard to
accept
blend.
black guys, right? So
Yeah.
when I look from a timeline at the moment, I've seen a lot of white females that have mixed race children literally going at their
White
friends
friends
and
over the
family
whole.
over the whole Black Lives Matter thing. And that pretty much shows that, yeah, fair enough, you can date black guys, but it doesn't mean that your aunties and your cousins necessarily accept that. So when you procreate, where does that leave your child if the families are not married?
Yeah.
Where does it leave them culturally?
That,
Confused.
I'm not going to use that word because I don't want to. I don't want to offend nobody. So, from a family perspective, you marry into the family. Okay, let me just read some comments. Simba says, pro-black is life. Once you're dating outside your race, black love, black relationship, and black nation building is not important to you. The fundamental foundation of pro-black is black family. If your family ain't black, how can you be pro-black? Let's see. So Nicole Marie Sweetland says, to be honest, I don't really know. It's the most contradictory term I've ever heard. I don't think anybody really knows what it means. I would have thought pro-black was about embracing and fighting when needed for the black community, promoting and uplifting the culture. I don't understand all this talk about watering down your children if you are with white man. I am not classed as either white or black, so where do I stand? It's almost like as a mixed-race woman, I am being excluded from my own culture and I can't be for the black culture because I have white in me. It's all contradictory. Would you like to
Yeah.
address that one?
take that.
I think this notion of being mixed race and separate is not progressive. I think to try and highlight, let me backtrack a little bit, okay. Of course, as somebody who is mixed race, you are going to have a challenging experience with your identity, let's just say.
Yeah.
Depending on whether your mum's white or your mum's black has a difference on how you are as a mixed race person. I think if we take it back to America, during like the one drop rule, you can't identify as white if you have one drop of black in your blood. So to identify as mixed race is this subcategory instead of just black. I just feel like it's disassociating yourself from your blackness because you're mixed race, you're not black. And I think if you're walking down the street and there's a racist, he's not looking at you or she like, oh, that's a mixed race person. You're just a black person, just like any other black person. So this separatism is not progressive for us as pro-black people.
I think if we go back into history as well, just addressing that, you didn't have black and mixed race
Yeah.
back in the days.
It never existed.
When Rosa and them were fighting the civil rights movement, historically, it was a case of if you have, like Asha mentioned, if you have a bit of black in you, even a drop of black in you, you are black. You are fully black. So some mixed race people might feel that they're excluded from this conversation. I think I don't see how we can exclude our mixed race friends and family from a pro-black conversation. I think it's more subjective depending on how you as a mixed race individual identifies. And there's having come across different mixed race people, I've come across Asha, who from the start of this conversation stated she identifies as black. I've come across mixed race people that identify as mixed race. And I've come across mixed race people that don't I can't even say
They don't.
I can't say that they identify as white, but I can tell you that they
They're
don't
not.
associate themselves with black. So when I'm having this conversation, where do you stand as a mixed race person? It's up to you. If you feel like you can be for black people and you can identify with black people, then you're welcome on board. It's not. It shouldn't even be a question. Do you understand? Because there are mixed race people historically that have done so much for the black
Yeah.
struggle. So how can we exclude mixed race people? It doesn't make any sense to me. To me, it's more as a black person, if I come across a mixed race individual and, you know, like, I'm not saying deny your white side. I'm not saying that. But also be privy to the fact that
You're just as
the
underprivileged.
world or white people collectively don't view you as white or mixed race. They view
Mix.
you as black as long as you're
Yeah.
not white. And this doesn't speak for all white people, so I don't want nobody to take my words out of
Everybody's
context.
like that.
The point is, you shouldn't feel excluded from this conversation if you are mixed race and you identify with black people. That you shouldn't feel excluded. And if you do feel excluded, that's a projection of your own.
Insecurities.
Is it insecurities or is it your own failure to appropriate your identity or to commit yourself to a particular identity?
It's a little side note. I think usually mixed race people have to always explain what they are. So when people go, "Oh, what are you?
What are you?"
What are you?" I think that serves as a problem because then you're like, instead of just being viewed as a person or a black person, you've then got to explain.
You've got to then decide on the spot.
Yeah, what I identify as. Oh, so what are you then? Oh, I'm mixed race. Or what are you mixed with? And then it's almost like you're selling yourself.
For them to say, I accept you as
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Basically.
exactly, yeah, exactly that.
Okay, so Israel,
And visually as well.
Pardon?
So I feel like when you look at mixed race, not all, because it depends on the genes and where people are from. But I feel like when you look at Asha, for example, you just see a black woman, just that she's a lighter shade.
and so does the world.
Yeah.
So Israel asks a question. Who decides what's black in this instance, though? If I married a dark-skinned Brazilian lady or an Aboriginal lady from Australia, is that more pro-black than a light-skinned sister from Trini who had Indian in her?
Come again, sorry.
That, again, Israel, is bringing nationality politics into into an ethnicity conversation. For me, if you're black and you're from Nigeria, from Brazil, America, you're born in the UK, you're born in Somalia,
Black's black. I'm comfortable.
yeah,
Doesn't matter where the
you're
blackness
black
came
to
from.
me and you're African to me. You
Yeah.
are of African
You
origin.
said yes. So it's
That's
like
100%.
This notion that black people only got to America and to the Caribbean on a slave ship is rubbish. Black people they've been exploring the world way longer than that. So you have tribes of black people that settled into the Americas, into the Caribbean prior to that. And I don't want
it's a
to. I'm
different
not.
conversation.
Yeah, it's a whole different conversation. So yeah. Let's see what else we got in the comments. Okay, so what about black people in black families that destroy the black community? It's conflicting.
Is that like black on black crime, Tasha?
Yeah.
there's crime everywhere, regardless
Yeah.
of
Okay, let's
race,
hear another comment from
creed.
Terence. I'm a little confused because I've heard a few different views on what pro-black is and different opinions. But if being pro-black is about who you date, etc., then 95% would fail in this category because we forever preaching about supporting our own because we don't do enough. You have people who date white people that do more for the black community than black people. Spread the culture, research the history. Essentially, being black is being made an exclusive club, but yet we are wanting equality. It makes me wonder if we're mad about being pro-black or mad at the fact that everyone has jacked our style for years and we hold resentment. I don't know, but I don't get the pro-black statement. Okay, so let me address that.
Mm.
First of all, being pro-black is not just about who you date.
Mm.
However, who you date is a very important aspect of being
Being pro-black.
pro-black. So it doesn't necessarily make it all about it. This just happens to be the topic in conversation.
Mm.
You have black people that do a lot for the black community who date outside the
Mm.
race. I applaud them. I respect them. I will stand with a black man that I
The
know
fight, sir.
that fights for our
Yeah,
cause.
yeah.
If we're on the front line and we're fighting the fight, I'm not going to turn around and say to you,
Hang
"Oh,
on,
you with a
what you
white
doing?
woman."
What you doing?
No, 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 no.
Like, move. No.
Yeah, no. The struggle is because guess what? Just because you date outside of your race or just because you're with a white woman doesn't necessarily mean that I can't identify with you as a black
Like,
man.
yeah.
Because guess what? We're all still susceptible to the same treatment from the system and from police, etc. We're still susceptible to systematic and institutional racism. And we can all, and it's our duty collectively as black men to fight the fight. However, when you put pro in front of anything,
Yep.
it has commitments. It has obligations,
Yeah.
and one of those obligations is to date somebody who's of your own race.
Why? Why? I think he said every. It's like you're. It's like your corner here. You reading out these comments and answering them.
Okay, let's see what else we got in the comment section.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that was basically it on the because we were only supposed to be having a short 1 hour conversation. How long are we here now? I feel like we just 3 hours later and we're still here.
Okay, yeah, but we still haven't quite defined
What it means.
to be pro-black.
I think that's what the kind of
The conversation.
yeah, it
is that.
highlighted how
Yeah.
pro-black is. It means something different to
To
it.
everybody.
Yeah. It's about how you identify as being pro-black. Like, for example, a woman that wrote in, she thinks she's pro-black and she dates outside of her race. We disagree. I think
There isn't an answer.
yeah.
We're not going to come out here. So pro black means X, Y, Z, and if you tick these boxes, therefore you are.
To be pro-black is to
Education, the heart of it. To be pro-black is education, and everything else.
to be pro-black then is to have a certain set of commitments and values to the
To
black
your-
race
yeah.
and to the advancement
100.
of your black race. We've not heard from Shanice for a bit.
We're just. She's you there.
Yeah, I kind of feel like not every black person is as outraged as every black person. Like the way I feel about certain things, some don't feel that way. So to me, you're black, you're not pro-black. And that's to basically go against, not against, but to respond to what she said, because being pro-black is standing up for what is right. And I feel like, for example, in a lot of jobs, for example, we'll accept the racism because we need the wages. Do you know what I mean? But I feel as a pro-black person, I'm gonna remove myself from that place because it's not uplifting me and giving me the power that I should feel and I know that I have because of what's happened to me and continues to happen to me. And I feel like with a pro-black attitude, more can be done. And with the education, we can like infiltrate certain roles that can help change this systematic, basically, oppression. So I feel like, yes, you can be black and, do things for the community, but then I feel like when you're pro-black, that's your main focus, and it's not to take away anything from other
Races.
races. It's to basically leave a legacy for ourselves because everything's been taken,
I like the word that she used there, legacy.
and it's a norm, and it's not normal.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about. For me, pro-black is the legacy of black people. So it's being part of a family thing. For me, I think if you get with a black person, you're a black person, you're creating more black people. It's making the legacy that you create go forward, keeping up your the people as a one as a whole. Personally, for me,
So, how do you feel about people that say that? I think the word diluted. Did somebody use the word diluted?
I'm
No,
sure that was in
I said
that was in
I'm not. I said
the
I'm not
thing.
gonna say dilute. I think I said break
Anyway,
down.
carry on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I didn't.
mean, how do
Was it
what do you say
break?
to people that?
Because I said diluted once and I got called. I said diluted once and I got called the Black KKK, and that was
Wait,
by a family
pardon?
member.
Come
But I
again.
feel that. But I feel that she was triggered. I feel she was triggered because of the fact that she's into
Oh,
white men. But it's a thing where that doesn't make me racist. It's based on the fact that I know that the darker I am, the more problem I have. So I want to make more of that, and I want to make it knowledgeable, he or she knowledgeable, so that our legacy isn't just that we were kings and queens, we were then slaves, and then still still been kept in a system of slavery. I'm sorry, no, like that's just how I feel personally.
what were you saying just now
And
about the dilute thing?
now just trying to address it to the people that might
Oh, okay.
feel that we're sort of
Said that.
suggesting that getting well.
But is that really a rude term? Like
I
when you,
think
for example, when you pour juice in a cup and you put water in it, you've diluted it.
It's been made a
It's not
negative
pure
term.
and full.
That's actually that's a fact you made. But
it's not a safe
it's
word.
not. It's not PC.
Okay, this is the problem with political correctness. Yeah,
That's another
Well, I
podcast.
say it anyway. I just
okay,
said
yeah,
break
just
twice.
okay. I think it kind of leads us to announcing where we're going to be, what episode 2 is going to be discussing.
We didn't decide.
Yeah, what is it? What is it? What are we discussing?
I believe that
I
episode
think we should
2.
put it out to the people. What we should like ask them.
Yeah.
Suggestions. Do poll.
Yeah, so people, if you'd like to, if there's any particular topics that you'd like for us to discuss, etc., please do put your comments in the comment section. Okay, let's just go back into the comment section and see.
Politically correct. That's funny.
Shanice, you can't be calling people diluted.
No,
Humble
I
yourself,
didn't.
Virgil.
No, I didn't. I didn't say that. I didn't. Don't try it. I didn't say that.
Okay, so let's go back into the comments. Nicole Marie, I've been paying attention to your comments. We are going to be doing a live show. We are going to be doing a podcast that's going to be discussing black and mixed race relations. I think there's a lot to talk about in regards to that topic. I think there's a lot to clear. I've been looking on my timeline lately, and I've been seeing
bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
There's a
I've
lot of
been
arguments
seeing-
going on.
Yeah, black people saying they've had this experience, mixed race people saying they've had this experience. I think
That's a podcast in itself.
yeah, that's a whole podcast that we need to touch on. So, Ashley, do you want to collect some of these?
And Nicole,
Let's see.
so if you once dated someone outside of your race and it didn't work, and now you're with a black person, can you be pro-black?
Yeah, they're just a body.
Yeah, yeah.
Later, I think it's counterproductive to encourage division.
Agreed.
It is counterproductive to encourage division, but at the same time, we have to
Talk about it.
talk about it.
Bro, I've met black women that think Martin Luther King was Muhammad Ali. What would be the benefit me dating these women just because they is black? They going to educate my kids all the wrong way.
That does mean that there's
Let
not
me
an
address this one, Terence. If you met a black woman
Jeez.
that fits
of all-
Martin Luther King's Muhammad Ali, right? First of all, where have you?
Finding a black woman.
I'm looking at your statement and I'm trying to find where you've actually taken any ownership as a black man to educate your woman on her blackness.
But I'm just thinking, where are you finding these?
Yeah,
where are you picking this one up from?
Yeah,
Where did you find this one? Where was it?
I mean, okay, yeah, there are black girls out there that do not know or that don't have
educated. They don't-
aren't educated on their identity or that don't have an understanding of their cultural. I get it, right? But at the same time, as a black man, you're supposed to take ownership of that. That's if it's somebody that's worth it to you. So how can you then turn around and say, what would be the benefit in me dating these women just because they's black? They're going to
So you just read it.
educate my kids all the wrong way. Why is it
Why
just
you-
up to your woman
It's
to
not.
educate
Yeah,
your
yeah.
children? What
of
what
you
do
created
you
this
as a
house.
man have to offer culturally to your children? What do you have to offer? It's literally you're the man of the house. No, I mean I get it. Women nurture, but at the same time, I've got children, and I've got children, and it does mean that I have to take responsibility sometimes, and either make suggestions on what or how I would want my children to be educated on their identity, or just generally with regards to their upbringing. And that's something that every man's supposed to have some sort of influence, especially where culture is concerned and where a child's blackness is concerned.
And if the woman doesn't know, then teach her. You educate. The
Yeah, you
woman.
educate
It's not a
her.
We're
case of,
supposed-
don't just leave it. Say, boy, you're daft. Child. I'm not gonna. I know about this and dip. You gotta-
Okay. I think
supposed to educate each other, innit? Like that's how the world goes round. We educate each other, and you don't give up on a sister because maybe she didn't feel. Everyone feel they should know their history, but you know, maybe she didn't feel she needed to do as much research because she's maybe a bit asleep to what's really going on. But you don't just ditch her. You're supposed to bring education too. Like that's a very attractive thing. If I learn from a man, that makes me want them more.
okay. Israel says, I think pro-black is a cultural phenomenon, more than who you date. Black is, in this instance, is a culture, and you need to be able to transfer that to your kids, no matter what skin tone they come out.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I
We said that earlier.
I can't
Yeah.
disagree with that. Yeah. Let's see, but not everyone that is black is pro-black,
Still laughing.
or not everyone who dates within the black race is pro-black. I'd imagine a pro-black individual. would know the difference between MLK and Ali. Yeah, obviously. But by their arguments of why you need to date within your race, I'm sorry to break it to you. A lot of black people don't know themselves, and I don't have time to play Malcolm when I'm trying to build.
I kind of.
So come again. Which? Why am I not saying
Look, trying to play Malcolm, you
So
know.
I'm taking from that he is suggesting that he'd rather date somebody who was already knowledgeable
yeah.
because it's not his job to teach anyone. And I can understand
not
why he could, but it's not progressive, is it? 'Cause
Why
the
is
whole
it not your job?
Yeah, it should be. I can understand why he'd see it.
Well, it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's not okay. You've got preferences. If you want someone that's
There's enough
educated,
knowledge out there.
go out there and find someone that's educated. But go out there and find another black person that's educated.
Yeah,
You're not
exactly.
gonna. It's up to you how you play that game.
There's enough knowledge out there to obviously learn, but then I feel like we learn up until the day we
Yes,
die.
everyone
So
don't know everything.
you should take joy. You should take joy
Teaching.
in awakening a sister. Like I don't get.
Okay, so Terence has replied. Also, man's not a teacher, bro. Why blame me? What about mom, dad, nana, and granddad, auntie, uncle? You're missing the point. What good is it when I'm saying one thing and then mom is saying another? Is this not conflicting? I think that's
the children or the partner.
this is talking about the same kind of girl that think LK's Muhammad Ali.
Where does it start? It's like, okay, so she's missed it from mom and dad, auntie, blah blah.
All right, Terence. I mean, obviously,
you're gonna-
when it comes to dating and everything, we all know our ideals, right? You're not gonna get with somebody that doesn't
Meet up to a certain stuff.
meet up to a certain standard, unless if you're out there just digging out every gruff, right? No,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
to put it bluntly,
Yeah,
right?
'cause-
The point is, you're supposed to know to pick sense out of nonsense. So there's certain
you go.
females that you just know say, yeah, she could, and then there's certain females where you know that they might have issues that
You can deal. You need to know.
you can deal with, or you know what you can and you can't deal with. Essentially, is the point.
Yeah, him saying he's not a teacher is taking a lack of
Yeah,
responsibility.
because
though,
you are.
Yeah,
You're supposed to teach.
Yeah, I think that statement of saying I'm not a teacher, I think we are, like Janice was saying, we are supposed to all be teaching each other in the community. I think he's being really dismissive.
And that's part of pro-black, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Teaching.
he's expecting kind of us to have the answer. And that's not.
And I get it. You might be more attracted to a woman that knows her knowledge, but then she might
One
be
man's
more
trash is
knowledgeable.
another
Yeah,
man's
so-
paradise.
I think that's a case of all right. I think that's a case of it's a case of choice, Terence. Essentially, right? At the end of the day, you've met one or two girls that don't know nothing about themselves. But I can tell you one thing: there are plenty of women, especially in Sheffield, right? Black women, strong black women, who are conscious and who know themselves, who are out there waiting for a good black man to step up to the plate. I have had countless of conversations with black girls in Sheffield literally saying, yo, it's like the man then don't really check for us, which is another conversation that we're going to have on another show. So
As long as it
you
is.
can't narrow it down to that one gal or two, two gal that don't really, meet up to your standards. As a black man, obviously, you want a woman, well, for me, I want a woman that at least lives up to, and I'm not saying that's going to treat me like my mother, but that lives up to standards that at least,
You've got standards that you've set that you're looking for.
yeah, and some of them are derived from how I've seen my mom be with me as a child and how I've seen my mom be with my father as a wife. And that's how we form our ideals. So it's subjective, do you know what I mean? Because that same gal could be
That's
Empress to
a
another
right
man.
girl to somebody else. That woman knows a
somebody
lot.
else, yeah.
MLK, you're teaching me something there. I don't know myself. Let's look together. They could grow. Don't knock it.
let's just he basically said he's talking in general, innit? He's
Yeah.
not saying it's him. I just kind of
Oh,
clocked
so he's
onto
not saying.
the comments.
Anyway, it was good
He's basically
conversation.
he's playing basically like devil's advocate.
Okay, I think we need. It's time to wrap it up.
Yeah. That was a good first one. So, are we asking people what it is that they want?
Yeah, so
to
people,
discuss?
if you'd like to get involved, just get in touch and make sure you follow our social media platforms. We're on Instagram at Afro Perspective Podcast. We're on Facebook as well. We've got a Facebook page, which I just realized we could have gone live on the page,
We're trying. Isn't that what we were
Yeah,
doing?
yeah.
But I was
yeah.
thinking-
I just realized where I went wrong. But yeah, we are available
time.
on Facebook. So make sure that you like
Share
the
the
page and share the thing.
Instagram would be good.
And we are on Twitch TV as well as YouTube, Afro Perspective podcast as well. So just it's the same handle for most of the platforms. So just to sort of summarize things. So essentially, the reason why we're doing this and the reason why this even came about is because I feel, or we feel,
Some tender.
there's a
thing
lot
going on in the world today.
there's a lot going on in the world, and the least we can do is talk about things, have difficult conversations, have uncomfortable conversations without we can disagree without disrespecting each other. We can disagree without insulting each other. So if we can have conversations, if I say something that you don't necessarily agree with, but you see somebody else agrees with it, and then you see from a different perspective, that's how we learn. You know what I mean? I believe, especially in this environment that we live in, where there's no access to much black excellence or black history, nothing. It doesn't mean that we can't share ideas and we can't just have discussions. Sometimes we're not going to agree, and sometimes we're going to be in.
Yeah.
Next time I walk out. One
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
irritating.
But essentially, if you, the listeners, can come out of this and say, you know what, I actually learned one or two things, then
We've done something.
we've done something. I'm not a.
I'm not a teacher.
I'm not a teacher. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not a politician or anything like that. I'm just somebody that's
Know
got a
a thing or
conscience,
two.
and I care about my community enough to try and have a dialogue, with other people. So it's not just about my opinion. It's not just about I'd like to think that I probably hog the mic a little bit, but it's about coming together and just reasoning. I think we should normalize these kind of conversations.
Yeah, because
we
at
shouldn't
the
wait.
moment, it seems like it's a bit taboo sometimes.
It's
to
a
talk
bit
about.
taboo. So when you
Shouldn't be
talk
taboo.
about certain topics, it's like people shy away from
Gosh.
them, or people are like, "Oh gosh, don't say that. You're gonna offend somebody." If anybody
Be afraid.
if anybody took offense to anything that was said in this, then perhaps I'm happy to, in the inbox, to give you more clarity. If you want to inbox me, I can explain things better in a respectful conversation. Or you're in the wrong place. You shouldn't be watching the show. It's literally
off.
down to that.
Don't upset
So
yourself.
don't
Fuck off.
expect no diluted conversations. Don't expect don't expect political correctness around here. It's about saying it like it is without disrespecting
Yeah.
anybody, without throwing anybody under the bus. It's about having grown-up conversations. So
People can get offended, but we're not trying to offend anybody. We're not trying to disrespect you.
Yeah.
Soz.
Everyone's different.
My bad from now, because
Everyone
yeah,
and how everyone feels is different, So like some people may not be as strong as you on that point. So, and I agree. If anything upsets anyone, like we're not animals, so we can have a grown discussion.
does that wrap it up for today, though?
okay, yeah, that pretty much wraps up
Yeah,
for
I think
today.
we did well.
So people,
Yeah.
get in touch on Facebook. Share this live stream and let everybody know what's going on. We're hopefully going to be back live.
Follow
What are we trying to do?
What are we trying to
I
do?
don't-
I actually quite enjoyed this.
Nah,
If
the guy
anybody
said
knew
it's
the
the beginning.
nerves No, it was quite nerve wracking, but
Too
I'm glad
much
that
coming out because we were like, oh, it's
Yeah,
5. Oh my gosh. But it's all right.
Are we gonna do it every week or we do?
I think we could do it every week.
I don't want to commit. I like commitment.
Yeah.
Let's talk about commitment phobia next time. I'm a deal. I can do it next week.
And people inbox us any topics,
Ideas on what we should discuss.
Yeah.
things that you feel like we should discuss, etc., etc. And we are going to be having other guests on this show,
It
so
ain't
it's
just gonna be our faces. Don't get bored. Don't log off if you're just fed up here to Nash it up all the time.
but I think So just you guys want to Ashley? Do you want to give us a conclusion?
Yeah.
Oh.
I introduced. Come on.
I think in conclusion, we've established that to be pro-black, which was the whole point of this discussion, is something that we can't just give one clear, definitive answer to. And I think with this space that we have, I'm quite excited because it is an open platform for us all to share. And
It's safe.
yeah, it's a safe place
Space.
to conversate, yeah. But yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah. And that's it.
Okay, so
Yeah. Shanice, will you be back next
Yeah.
week?
Who?
Yeah.
Me? Of course. Like I'm very open. I'm a very open person regardless, and I feel very passionate about my people. So I'm passionate about humans. I'm a carer, I work with every race, people that can speak English, that people that who can't. So I'm just up for discussions always, especially for the betterment of humanity.
Yeah. Aw, I liked it.
Are we done now?
Are we done?
Is it like stop?
Stop. No, if you need to live recorded.
right, Shanice, we're getting up now.
Bye, Lulu. It's busy now, not
All
live.
right.